Hello, in this video I want to give you 5 quick tips to produce ICM artwork like this and this and this. But first I want to give you 2 very quick points. First up, it's very hard to get ICM wrong. And secondly, it's incredibly difficult to get a good one. Looking quickly at point 1, if you can move the camera whilst the shutter's open, you can do ICM. Yep, it's that simple. And point 2, it probably looks pants. We'll start with point 1, because not only is it traditional, but if I started with point 5, you'd click off the video right now. So, point 1, stick your camera in shutter priority or complete manual mode. The reason we do this is because we need absolute control over the shutter speed. If we put it into program mode or aperture priority mode, we don't have that because we're controlling the aperture, or the camera is controlling everything for you. You do not want that. You want absolute control of the shutter. We are going to be working somewhere around a half of a second to a quarter of a second, something like that. You can go longer, you can go shorter, but half of a second to a quarter of a second are good. Don't go worrying about what your aperture is. It's completely unimportant here. Shutter priority, to get down to that kind of speed, is going to put your aperture up as high as it can go in any case. When I say high, I mean high F number, tiny aperture. The last thing you need to be worried about here is diffraction, because ain't no one going to see anything sharp in this image. Tip number 2, use a tripod. I know it sounds daft, doesn't it? We're doing intentional camera movement, and the tripod famously holds it still, but also famously it gives you complete even panning and heck, even up down motion. Now this one's not too good at up down motion because it can rotate at the same time, which isn't the greatest idea. But if you are shooting something like a seascape, as I'm going to do here, the one thing you still want to achieve is a complete straight horizon, because no matter how blurry your image is, if that horizon doesn't look right, that image isn't going to look right. And as a bonus tip, don't worry if you don't get the kind of exposure you want in camera. This is ICM. You edit the buggery out of it when you get it back into the computer anyway. As long as you don't push those levels too hard so you're really highlighting problems in your exposure, you're pretty much free to do anything. This is artwork after all. We're not trying to capture the moment, we're trying to capture the moment, if you see what I mean. Another really important point, don't use the electronic shutter. You need to be able to feel when that shutter opens and closes so you know when the exposure is finished, because if you don't, you could be moving too early, you could be moving too late. There's nothing necessarily wrong with moving too early or too late, but knowing that the exposure is over is actually quite important. Tip number 4, and you need to be aware that ICM is not for the faint-hearted if you're trying to keep your shutter count down. I've already told you not to use the electronic shutter. Well, I'm afraid it gets worse, because you need to shoot loads, because your throwaway count is going to be massive. Absolutely huge. You might be down to kind of 1% if you shoot 100 shots, and yeah, nothing wrong with shooting 100 shots here. You might only find there's 1 or 2 that are keepers. There's going to be a lot of similarity between a lot of these things, and one of the reasons that you need to shoot lots of them is because every single one will be unique. There's no way to replicate them. But if we move on to point 5, it kind of marries in with point 4. Point 5 is chimping. You've got to chimp, because if you don't, you won't get an idea of what you've got to start with. And it's not as though you're at a wedding or anything checking every other image. You're not doing that. You're checking every movement of that to see whether it was good enough and to get your variations around. So yeah, you've got to look at these, because yeah. Oh, that didn't work. See, it didn't work. So that's 5 very quick tips for ICM photography. Check out my other videos for more tips on ICM photography. And you might get some images like that. Well, you don't really want that one. Hold on. That one's better. Catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Give the video a thumbs up, subscribe for more, and check out the other videos.